Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope that everyone out there is doing absolutely fantastic. And that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. There's a brand new video every 24 hours, and there has been for the last decade. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, we actually got some weird, really weird kind of news today. I mean, it does happen every now and again. It's not bad news. It's just not the normal news that we would actually or have been having within the cryptocurrency space as of late. It feels like there's some mudslinging, some accusations, people talking about this, that, and the other. And I'll say it this way: this tends to happen during bull runs, during bull markets, at least within crypto. I don't know why everyone tries to, and I say it this way, why everyone tries to push everyone else down instead of raising each other up, but that's just the way that most of the world actually works. So this will be reminiscent of older times, if you will. Similar to this, I mean, half a year ago, maybe an entire year, where we were hearing about the Ethereum Foundation. If you missed those videos, it is totally understandable. A lot of the news floating around was that apparently people within the Ethereum ecosystem, like the higher ups, were not happy with each other, and who was running things and who was coordinating and who was making up this. People were claiming that someone stole money, misappropriated money. There was something going on. There was a shift behind the scenes and nobody was happy. And some people were that kind of thing. We've had this with a lot of different coins except for Bitcoin. But every other project has had some kind of a thing like this. It's more of a did or didn't it happen. But it's kind of like, okay. Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano and the CEO of Input Output Global, has apparently said an audit of Input Output Global's ADA holdings is currently underway. He's apparently expecting the results of the audit to be released publicly by mid-August. If I remember correctly, I think somebody claimed that Hoskinson or other people were moving around funds when they shouldn't have, or someone took this the exact same thing as the Ethereum Foundation accusations. I never really know who makes these things or says them out loud. And I'll say it this way. It's not our money. I don't know who keeps on throwing these things out there. A lot of times, what ends up happening is if a coin's price isn't moving, usually the public becomes a little bit, the word's not even antsy. They get angry for whatever reason. And this is when we usually have a lot of like claims being thrown out there about a company. Similar to XRP, and even still, people still have this thing where they're claiming that Ripple's gonna sell a bunch of XRP. Or that behind the scenes, someone is lying and no one's doing this. It's just always kind of this loop over and over. We had it before with Tether. We had it before with Tron, even though Tron is garbage, but that's also a completely different thing. It kind of just always happens. But Charles Hoskinson in this instance says that they're having a full audit of everything that's been happening with their money. And I say their again because it's theirs and not the public's. So, okay. The decision to conduct and publish the audit follows, there we go, public accusations of financial misconduct within the Cardano ecosystem. But how though? But why? It's always the same. This is the problem that we had with all these initial wave of rich people who got into the cryptocurrency market. If you missed it, this was 4 years ago when the entire DeFi thing was kicking off. And the one who really, the dirty cherry on top of the cake is that guy from Shark Bank or Shark, that TV show. Kevin something, whatever his name is. The point is, he was having a great time. He was skipping through the cryptocurrency space. And then all of a sudden, one of the protocols did something that he didn't like. And then he immediately was on TV talking to the SEC about how bad this was and crypto needs to be regulated. It's always some kind of an investor who wants something to happen that doesn't happen. And then they spread the news that something must be wrong. And then other people go, yeah, something must be wrong. So even if we're in a bear market and prices aren't moving, people expect prices to go up. And when the prices don't go up, they start pointing fingers at the actual company, not realizing themselves, because people are idiots. If you're talking about a company did something wrong and it caused you to lose money, you are announcing that the thing that you own, you believe is a security, which then causes the SEC to move further into the space, which ruins it for everyone. Like, I have to continuously say over and 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 over. If no one else tells you this year, you are an adult. No matter what happens in the news, no matter what happens in crypto, you are the one who works the job. You choose to go into work every single day to do whatever you might do. And then at some point you get a paycheck. You are the one who receives that paycheck, and you are the one who puts that money into an investment that you deem fit for yourself. Irrespective of how many times we might have spoken about XRP or Ethereum or Bitcoin, a lot of people choose to put their money into Pepe Coin, into Tron, into Solana, into Stellar Lumens, into Fart Coin, which is also a coin, in case you didn't know. Yeah, because everyone just kind of makes everything. But then at some point, it always ends up happening. If the market ends up going down or isn't going up quick enough, there's always, it's the same cycle over and over. Is someone who doesn't want to believe that it could have potentially been their issue because they put their own money into a coin, and then they start kicking up tons of dust talking about there must be some sort of a problem. So as of late, Cardano has been in the news, but they haven't really been in the news. Basically, with the most that we've heard from Cardano is that they have another upgrade coming up, but there's always an upgrade coming up for Cardano. We heard that apparently they're trying to integrate Bitcoin into the Cardano ecosystem so that Bitcoin can then be staked on top of Cardano. And what was the other thing? Cardano apparently is in talks with Ripple to try and get the Ripple stablecoin also minted on top of Cardano as well. You see this usually with Tether. Tether isn't just on Ethereum. It's on like 9 different chains. It's how you lightly make it lightly decentralized. It's still not the same thing, but you understand. So with many other coins pumping in price and Cardano still not near their previous all-time high, everyone has chosen to say, well, it must be the Cardano Foundation. You must have misappropriated funds. You must have done something illegal. That's the only way. So then Hoskinson jumps in and says, cool, we're going to have an actual audit. And this is usually when people shut their traps. It's usually the only thing that actually ends up working. It's what worked with Tether all those years ago. Everyone kept on saying that Tether was being printed out of thin air. Tether said no, they had an audit. People said Tether, every time that it was being printed out of thin air, they were using that Tether to buy up Bitcoin, raising Bitcoin's price. There were 6 audits. It wasn't true. The only thing that kind of gets the public to like turn in something is always this kind of thing. This was very big news for those of you who weren't aware. The audit was first announced on the 19th of May, following serious accusations made against Hoskinson and the company. Some claimed that $600 million worth of Cardano's native token ADA had been misused. I'm going to repeat this one more time. None of you are actually in Input Output Global. None of you are in the Cardano Foundation. This money is not yours. Whatever that company wanted to do with their money, it's their money and their wallet. Imagine you had $100 million. At some point you got bored. You found an island for 18 million. You decided to buy it. And people were like, did you see what he did with his own money? And then they forced you to do an audit, or you said you would, like, it's the same loop over and over, because people in the world, I was going to say crypto, people on the planet never ever actually change. Unless the people from Cardano, from IOG said, we are going to use 600 million US dollars specifically as an airdrop to people, or to help the ecosystem in this explicit way, and they didn't. Who cares? This isn't the public's money. Every time that Vitalik Buterin spent his own ether, people got upset. People think that Vitalik Buterin is never ever supposed to spend any of his ether or convert it into fiat currencies. These accusations cause significant concern within the Cardano community because people usually can't think for themselves. It raised questions about how unclaimed ADA from the early days of the network were handled. The controversy intensified when several community members raised concerns about Charles Hoskinson's role in the 2021 Allegra hard fork. All right, so cool. We're apparently a couple days away from this actually being released. When it is released, everyone's gonna pretend that this didn't happen, that no one ever bought this up. People will talk about, no, it wasn't me. I heard this news from someone else. It's always, please remember that you're an adult and you choose what you do and where you put your money and the investments that you make. Cryptocurrencies are going to take over the world, but because the coin that you put your money into hasn't done an 800x, stop it, please. It usually ends up being the reason why we have so many issues within crypto. The only reason why we had the lawsuit against Ripple in 2019, 20, whatever, is because of Bitcoin maximalists being really annoyed with the coin's popularity and then saying that it was a security, and then people within the community actually this isn't a joke, contacting the SEC to tell them that something must be amiss. This coin's a security. Look at how much they have. They're going to dump it on the public. It's always this thing over and over and over. Are people really, like, you have nothing better to do with your time? It's just, can you imagine if people did this for Apple? If people did this for Amazon? If something was going on with a major company and somebody was like, hey, your stock price didn't go up by 20x. The money that so for those of you who also don't know, Apple has hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars, like, in the bank. It sounds like a fake number. No, it's actually real, that they're sitting on. Imagine at some point somebody went on to CNBC and they were like, yeah, the money that they're holding on to, their last iPhone didn't do that well. They should have used $100 billion to advertise. We're going to sue them. And it's like, please stop. We're already fighting regulators. We're fighting people outside of crypto who don't like us, who don't want us to be around, who have lied about us before. We don't need people lying within the actual ecosystem that we're trying to grow, that we are a part of. That's the Charles Hoskinson Cardano mid-August news. Alrighty then. Let's move on. Also in water is wet news. I understand the significance of it, but it's also like, yeah, that's how money works. High net worth individuals within India are rapidly shifting from traditional assets into cryptocurrencies. Yeah, that's once again how money works. If you see that an asset has risen by 224% over the course of a year, And the other assets that you have rose by 7%, which is a highly respectable number. I think we're just used to crazy numbers within crypto. People then begin to shift their money into these other assets. Recently, India's leading exchanges have reported a sharp rise in interest from Indian family offices amidst the ongoing global bull run. For those of you who are particularly, maybe you're just not in the know, wondering why India's in the news as far as high net worth individuals. India has a massively large population. I think it's 1.5 billion. I think it's currently 1.5 billion. 2, there are an enormous amount of people within India who are becoming 100,000-aires, millionaires, and billionaires within India every single week. Like, they have a rapidly growing economy and a rapidly growing, it's not even middle class, it's like upper middle and like very wealthy class. One of the discussions over the last decade was, when are people in India going to get into the cryptocurrency space? Their government has given like one regulation. That's it. And I think it was for taxation. Very similar to the US SEC. They've been claiming since 2017. Yes, 2017 that they would give proper regulation. They have never done so. So it's been a gigantic, really a gray area for anyone who even thought of potentially getting into this market. So since then, we have heard that a number of exchanges, Coinbase and Binance, were banned from India. They were allowed to go back to India. They had to get paperwork within India because the country kept on saying that they didn't have it. That kind of thing over and over and over. So now we're getting a lot of news that a lot of these wealthy people have, of course, been buying tons of crypto. It says wealthy Indian investors are quietly shifting their money into digital assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum. The trend has shifted, especially after Trump's return to the White House, which has boosted global crypto confidence. Not entirely true, but sure, you can keep telling yourself that. When Bitcoin hitting above $120,000 and giving 90% returns in a year, crypto is now looking a lot more attractive than gold, stocks, or bonds. This is also something that happens every single bull run. Crypto will always outperform other assets. Bitcoin is up by millions of percent, not a fake number. Bitcoin is up by several million percent since 2009. If you are seeing that something in the stock market gave you a 17% return in a year, which is usually quite rare. I know there's one person out there, I always make 17%. That's cool for your portfolio. Many people do not. If you see that an altcoin rose by 38% over the course of a month and not a year, people are, of course, going to start shifting their money around quite heavily. A recent report from Money Control reveals that platforms like Mudrex, saw high net worth trading volumes rise by 30% in just 1 week, hitting the $10 million mark. CoinDCX's average high net worth trade size grew by almost 25 to 30% just in July alone. Cool. Between January and June, around 3,500 high net worth individuals, family offices, and institutional investors accounted for nearly half of all trading done on the crypto exchange called CoinDCX. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You know how I'm always saying, it's not just ETFs. It's not just corporations buying. No, there's always some kind of a family office. There's always some kind of a rich person. So it does make a lot of sense that with all the news that we've been getting, that crypto and Bitcoin is going to 1 million. It's not, these aren't secrets. That's always the point to kind of, I think, be made, is that we are constantly told, you've seen it many times before, prices rose by 11%. It was because the ETFs bought. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not just the ETFs. It's not just these 900 companies. There's also a lot of very wealthy families. There are millions. Was it 20, 30 million? I think it's more than that. 30 million plus millionaires on the planet is a huge number. So at some point, these people are going to be like, wait a tick. Let me go get some BTC as well. And this is where all these supply is going, to very wealthy people. Hopefully we get to a point where, still hoping and wishing those 8 billion other people decide to finally enter into the market before all the Bitcoin's gone. But I think that's just wishful thinking at this point. Yeah, that's the rich people are buying up all the crypto because that's what rich people tend to do. They want to usually get richer because, that's the thing. I think that's going to do it for this video, everyone. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting on the video, and yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, okay. I'll talk to you all soon. See you.